Hello, everyone. A big warm welcome to all of you on the expert series of the Special Needs Children podcast. Thank you so much for your time and agreeing to do the podcast with me. Today on the show, we have with us Dr. Deepti Gandhi. Dr. Deepti Gandhi is the founder and CEO of Muskan Foundation, a WHO trained, nationally renowned low vision consultant. With over 30 years of work in the disability sector, she has created a powerful vision rehabilitation program for children with low vision with a remarkable 92% success rate. After working with organizations like the National Association of the Blind, she noticed serious gaps in healthcare and education for children with multiple disabilities and vision impairment. That insight led to the birth of Muskan in 2007, starting with just two small children in a veranda and growing today into
Six
six
centers.
centers, touching the lives of over 326 children has been a fab
This
journey for
year,
you.
this year, I mean, till now we have touched almost 2,000 lives, more than 2,000.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you so much for everything that you've been doing over the years, and we hope to capture all of this in this brief podcast that we're doing with you here. So I'll begin with the first question. Your journey of 30 years has been really, it's amazing when you look back. So can you please recount and tell us how was it first experience for you when you actually sat in front of a child and you conceptualized this whole thing for yourself?
So, Chitra, when I got married, my husband said that you need not be a breadwinner. Look for something where you can contribute to the lives of children. I did not know anything about special education at that time. So then that's how I started looking for where I could go. I was actually a teacher in a school, so that's how I started. And then it so happened that my husband had gone somewhere, and people in Mumbai offer their place. When there's puja or something. So he was the director of NAB, executive director, and my husband said my wife is really keenly looking to get into the disability sector. Can you guide? And that is the time when the movement for integrated education had come. Inclusion had not yet happened that time. So he said, just send her. No? So this was in the year, I think, 1996. I went to NAB, and I had director, who was in the education department, and he saw my CV. I am a BSc in physics, chemistry. So he said, "Oh, she will know what is low vision, what is optics." So he started training me in low vision,
Okay.
and I was really fortunate that just 1 year after that, WHO came to India, and they had made a manual on low vision assessment and intervention. And I was lucky that I got selected to be trained under WHO for that.
Wow.
So I started my journey with NAB, National Association for the Blind, and I'm really grateful to them. Even today, I call them as my gurus, who have brought me into this field. And that's how I started my journey. And then I was working in NAB. And then, all of us face this problem, ladies, children are growing and you cannot balance, right? So then I just resigned and I sat at home. But and I had this passion to work. So I didn't know what to do. So my husband said, doesn't matter, go to the office around and tell them this is that you do an assessment and, you give suggestions. So that's how I started meeting various doctors. And the number of children started coming to me. Most of them were multiple disabled, vision with additional disability. And the plight of them was, like morning they had to go for some occupational therapy, then come go for physiotherapy, and then go for speech therapy. So I thought, let's have something where everything's under one roof. So that's how I started. And I started seeing more and more children with multiple disabilities, and there was no service available. There was, which was somewhere in Vashi, but in Mumbai there wasn't anything. So that is how I started. And the parents also insisted, Madam, you start. So I started with therapies initially because I was a vision consultant. Then I added the other therapies. Then they said, Madam, why don't you start special education? That's how I started with the parents insisting that start something.
Wonderful. So when you're talking about MDVI, specifically, what does this term mean? What is the meaning of parents who may be hearing it for the first time? Multiple disabilities with vision impairment. So why do children often not get the service? They're not even identified for this. how does this work and what do you do? How do you figure it out?
Yeah, that's a very good question because that's the need of the hour today. Okay? So, what is multiple disability with visual impairment? First is deaf blindness. So, there are so many syndromes because of this child is born deaf blind, right? There's Usher syndrome, there's rubella, there's golden hair, there's Leber's congenital amaurosis, so many of them, right? So, now what happens is parents, look into the primary disability, right? Or the child is cerebral palsy with visual impairment, intellectual impairment with visual impairment, autism with visual impairment. So the parents and the professionals are concentrating on the primary disability. For example, if it's autism, they are concentrating on providing intervention related to autism.
Autism and
Though they know that there is a problem in vision, sometimes they think it is the impact of autism on vision. Okay, so that is why the intervention doesn't start early. Also, professionals working with children with multiple disabilities, they are also not aware, they are not trained. Sometimes I feel that parents know there is something else to it, but they are still grappling with the first disability, the primary disability, and they just want to deny that there's something else.
yeah.
Right. Also, there are no assessment scales for MDVI, multiple disabilities with visual impairment. Like suppose you talk about autism, we talk about intellectual disability, about hearing or vision, there are standardized scales.
Correct.
There is nothing for MDVI.
Yeah.
So that is why they don't get identified. Also, the developmental pediatricians and neurologists, they feel that, no, wait, why are you hurrying? Let's
Pehle
find
you
out.
look at, yeah.
Yeah, why do you want to label? It's
Right.
not about labeling. I feel that the earlier you start, the better it is. Right intervention of the right time really helps the child.
True. So, the birth of Muskan was in 2007, right? And as you explained, you stepped out of NAB and then you said that you went about setting that up. So, what was going through your mind at that time, and did you ever imagine it would become this large?
Never imagined that it would be like this. So, after I resigned from NAB, I was working as a low vision consultant with 8 organizations.
Wow.
And wherever I went, I was seeing children with multiple disabilities but not identified. So my father, he has a bungalow in Kalanagar. So he said, when he called me, where are you? I'm in Mulund. Where are you? I'm in Vashi. So he said, why do you keep traveling? I said, Baba, they are there. So I have to go there. He said, I'll give you a space. You start something here. So that's how he gave me a small veranda and a small room. And you must be knowing that, founders are driven by the passion. They don't think what will happen next.
Yeah.
So I just started in a veranda with just 2 children, not thinking that it will grow so much. So that is how we started, and I still remember the first day, and we had just, I think, 4-5 parents, but the feeling in their eyes that something is doing, somebody is doing something for us, and we are going to get services all under one roof. So that was very satisfying for me.
We remember coming to you
Huh.
at Kalanagar. Specifically, I
Is it?
remember. You may
Oh.
not remember, but we
Acha.
definitely came with our son to
Okay.
meet you there. Yeah.
Acha.
And obviously, it's like some 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is amazing. And how does the process, what is the process you follow? A parent comes in and then,
Yeah, so the parent comes in, then we do the assessment. We do a proper thorough assessment as to what is the problem with the vision.
this is only the
Visual
vision part of it.
yeah.
Because they must be already telling you that the primary disability is XYZ.
Yeah. And then we look into what is needed. Like, I'll just give you a story that once Dr. Udani had sent me twins. They were autism with visual impairment. So Dr. Udani said that one of them was good enough to mainstream her in a school, right? So we mainstreamed her. The other one was, we all thought that she would not do much. We all mean, not me, other professionals thought. So we said, okay, let's start training them. So this other girl, let's call her Ruby, I'll not take her real name. So she came and we, really worked. We used to give her occupational therapy, then vision therapy, special education. We were working, holistically on the child. And then later on, we had a center in Goregaon. She moved there. And one day I was just sitting in the lunch hour, and somebody was punching the calculator, talking calculator, 24 multiplied by 37, and the answer came. And I just turned back, and it was Ruby, who was visually impaired with autism. Nobody thought so. Most of them, the professionals, the doctor said, and even if she learns to do her own ADLs, that will be great. But this girl was in Pratham in the second level, and she was doing maths.
Wow.
and she was reading, writing, doing maths. So I
Wonderful.
feel that, we shouldn't say that I don't think this child can do anything. We shouldn't stop. That's what we always follow at
Yes.
Muskan. We do the intervention, we do the assessment, we start the intervention. We never say that I don't think she can do this. I don't think she can. Many of the occupational therapists tell us, "Arey, why you're teaching her to read and write? Why not give them that option? If they can do it, great. If they can't, it's all right, right?" So that's how we
Eventually,
do.
it all will add up to pre-voc vocation, and it
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
on to so many choices in
So
life
many
that you have to
choices in
make.
life. Yeah,
Otherwise, there's one area which, as you said, we're busy looking at everything else, and
yeah,
this
yeah,
is perhaps one area that gets missed
yeah.
completely.
Even one more. There was this girl, Leber's congenital amaurosis.
Yeah.
So that is, they have autism with visual impairment. So again, when this girl came, the doctor said, she was only 8 months old. So we have a mother toddlers program also, and she was a rickshaw driver's daughter. So they said we cannot afford all these services, and traveling is difficult. So we gave her at a concessional rate. We were offering her, travel conveyance also, because I believe that they should get it at the right time. If she comes after 5 years, it's not going to be any use.
Yeah.
Today, that girl is 5 years old. She is going to a mainstream school.
Wonderful.
We never thought she could talk, but if we talked to her more, she said, "Now stop, I want to do my work."
So sweet.
Yeah. So I think most organizations, first of all, don't start early. We have a mother toddlers. We take children as young as 8 months, 9 months. That creates an impact. And we also train the parents how you can go about.
So, who typically, how are parents guided to you? Are the pediatric neurologists or pediatricians sending them to
Yes,
you?
yes. Most of
They're
the
identifying
neurologists,
that there
yes,
is a visual
yes, yes.
deficiency.
So nowadays, there is awareness that
Yeah.
there is something called as cortical visual impairment. It's called now cerebral visual impairment. So it is because when the brain is injured,
Mm.
okay, if it's a premature baby or injured due to during delivery or after delivery, then the brain is responsible for vision. Eyes just catch the picture. So there are a lot of children who have intellectual impairment with cerebral visual impairment. So they are also getting aware, and they have certain characteristics. So they have started sending children to us.
Okay.
So when I go to Vadia, I have an OPD written of only 8 children, and I'll end up doing 15 assessments. So almost developmental pediatricians, neurologists, they send these children to us for vision. But then later on, we provide them the other services. But like if a child is hyperactive, you're not able to sit in one place, how can I give vision? So we ask the OT to just find out whether the child needs it. So that's how we provide a holistic therapies for the child. And suppose we feel the child has enough cognition to do reading, writing, then we give other it's functional academics that we provide to them. That's how we go about. So I have a big team, Chitra. I have uh, special educators, RCI qualified. We have occupational therapists, physiotherapists, speech therapists. We are doing vision, and that's how we have everything under one roof.
So, what is the age group of the children that you take?
Yeah, so as I told you, we have infants, from 6 months to 8 months also till 18 years.
Till age of 8.
Yeah, we have not started vocational.
Okay.
Yeah, we would like to. We just started last year, but we don't want to venture too much deep into it. Let's wait and watch and see how it unfolds.
Right.
But right now, we are offering services from 0 to 18.
Wonderful. That itself is great news, for parents to know that this is. And where all are you available now?
Yeah, so
In Mumbai?
our head office is in Bandra.
Mm.
Then we are in Vadia Hospital. Then one Hume School at Bhaikala.
Yes.
Then Goregaon. Then MGM at Panvel. And then one in Kalyan. So we have 6 centers across Mumbai. That's how many people call us to start new centers. But I believe that whatever we start, it should be done well, right? So we should have therapists, we should have teachers. So right now we have 6 centers offering services right now to 326 children.
Wonderful. And how large is your team then?
So total, I mean, if you calculating my helpers, we have 67. Just my HR told me in the last meeting that, "Ma'am, we have 67 employees." I
Hats off
never
to you,
knew that.
really.
Yeah,
Wonderful
so
to have
I
grown.
myself was surprised to know that we have 67
Yeah.
people working with us. But this includes the helpers and others. Like we have special educators, we have paraprofessionals, we have
Right.
therapists,
Right.
proper certified therapists.
Mm.
Then we have consultants who come and do the assessments or help us.
But for the vision portion, you're the one who are teaching the therapists, or they are
No, I
certifying
have, yeah,
themselves as vision therapists?
no, yeah, yeah. So I am the one who does the assessment and gives the program, and I have paraprofessionals who execute it.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are so many children coming, I cannot do it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of this program, the entire vision rehabilitation program, can you please share how it transforms the learning? Like you gave a brief examples, but is there a particular story that you can share where having done this over a period of time? Because usually when parents are also exposed to a new kind of therapy, they do it for, it's like literally a dipstick. They just do it for like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. कुछ नहीं हुआ, okay नहीं, start working. So what happens typically, and what do you tell the parent?
So vision rehabilitation has 3 steps. Better? The first one is vision stimulation. So like when you go to the gym, you first warm up, right? So vision stimulation is just telling the brain that you can see.
Yeah.
You can do, you can, use that vision. So you just stimulate the vision with lights, contrast charts, and then we have a visual efficiency program. Let's go back to the example of the gym where you train your, upper body, your lower body, whatever. So like that, we train the visual skills. We start with the oculomotor skills like tracking, scanning, focus, fusion, and then we move on to the perceptual skills, right? So now the vision is trained, right? What do we usually do when we are trained in anything? We start using it, right? So like that, we use that trained vision for ADLs. If the child is good enough, cognitively good enough, he can use it for reading, writing, or orientation, mobility, from moving from one place to another. So that's how we actually train them. So we don't stop at visual efficiency. Suppose the child is reading well, then we take the help of the special educator. We've got program learning books made for them, specially for them. So that's how we go about. And there are not one example, innumerable examples where the child is with us. We insist that he takes special education with us for a year or so, and then we handhold the parents to mainstream the child in a mainstream school, and we are in touch with the school.
Okay.
And we tell them what can be done with the child, So because though RTE is there, they don't want to follow it, right? Nobody wants. So then we also help them. So there are innumerable examples where they are pursuing their education and doing well. Of course, cognition should be near normal. Otherwise, then it gets difficult to do the functional part of education, right? So
Right.
that is how it is.
And
yeah.
what about those who can't be mainstreamed?
Those who can't be mainstream, we have a special school, right?
Yeah.
So that's how, or suppose they are near, suppose there's a child who's identified in a place where we don't have a center, then we refer them to a nearby center.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And
but
then
our aim is to see that the child is independent. He can
Right.
contribute something to the family,
Yeah.
to the society.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how it is.
Perfect. Yeah. And so, can you share about the role of parents? Parents really, do they, come in and are they able to? First is their understanding of that this is important, and then also doing whatever you're telling them to do, because how many ever number of hours they spend at a center, going back and doing what they need to do is much more important, right? So, how do you think, parents and caregivers of a child are able to carry on the program and continue with it?
So first, when we do the assessment itself, I explain to them what does that mean to have cortical vision? What does that mean to be a rubella child, right? So then we explain to them what it is, and then we explain the whole process, what's going to happen, and we tell them it will take 6 months, it will take, or they, everybody wants fixed solutions. Madam, kitna time aana padega? 3 mahine ho jayega. I said, this is, we cannot know, we cannot understand how the brain will operate, right? Every child is different. So then we train them. We have a WHO program which is available on WHO website.
Correct.
On parent empowerment. There's 15 modules in it.
Oh.
Right? So wonderful. And all my teachers are certified. So we have proper sessions with our parents.
To train the parent.
To
also.
train the parents. to how I also did the course, because if
Yeah.
my teachers are going to do, I want to know
Yeah,
what is there.
absolutely.
So we have divided that course, 15 modules, again broken them into smaller pieces.
Hmm.
And our trained teachers take sessions with our parents to how to go about with it. Not only in vision rehabilitation, in other areas also, like communication, socialization, cognition, everything we go through them. Then we have a wonderful program called as CAME, a positive change. C is for counseling.
Okay.
So a parent is bogged down with so many things. So I had my friend who came to help me as a counselor. And while having lunch, she said, Dipti, are you aware that so many of them have suicidal tendencies?
Hmm.
Right? So I said, then we must do something about it. Only working with the child is not important. So we started counseling for parents, and we are getting a very good response. Then we have MAP. A is for activities. So we arrange for various activities. We call experts
Hmm.
in the medical field or others who can speak, like
Yeah.
sleep disorders. They don't know what is to be done, right? Or maybe feeding disorders. Whatever they feel. We ask the parents, what do you want? So we have experts coming in
Understood.
and talking. Like you just said, they start with a medication and they said, "Abhi bas ho gaya, apne aap band kar dete." Why shouldn't you stop? Why should you go regularly to the doctor? So we have these experts coming. Then we arrange competitions for them, so they feel that I can also do something. So that is A for activities. Then M is for music therapy. Music, it always helps even you and me in our mental health. So we have music for them. And E is for parent empowerment program, which is the WHO program that we follow. So we have a complete package, and ongoingly we keep informing the parents as to what's happening with the child. Like we have the mother toddlers program, right?
Hmm.
So there also we tell them we are doing this activity for what?
Yeah.
How do you do it? We have small talks, 10-15 minutes talks. We may call our own occupational therapist, like, and then they talk to the parents and they tell them, and they have time to for somebody to ask questions and answer, because when they go to these professionals, they don't have time to answer their questions. So they tell them. Suppose he says, मेरा बच्चा हाथ से नहीं खाता है, hand use नहीं है autism में, कैसा करना चाहिए? So you tell them that. A simple thing, that what's the difference between a tantrum and a meltdown? Parents don't know. So we have these talks ingrained, and we have this staff like counselors, our professionals. They all come together with the parents, and they say you have a main important role to play, because the child is going to be with us for maybe 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is. But otherwise, you are going to be with the child. So you have to participate, be our partner, and then only you will see a change in the child. It's not a miracle that's going to happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, any amount of parent engagement is, it always helps, it always contributes. Being a parent myself, I know that it is all constantly required. As you said, there are moments when you're going through your tough times and somebody holding hand and saying that, ask what you want, and, I will be able to guide you, is really a huge support, because otherwise it becomes very isolating.
And also, it's very important to think of the mental health of the parent, no?
Mm.
What they are going through. Unless they are fine with themselves, they
How will
can't
they be
take
able to
care of the
focus on?
child, right?
Yeah,
So my counselors tell me, ma'am, it's like a catharsis that happens with them, and they feel so relieved.
correct.
So
I
that is
completely
one
agree.
aspect that everyone must look into.
Yeah, true.
See, Chitra, you are educated, you have a good family support. There are parents, the
Yeah.
mother-in-law says, क्यों जाती है उसके लिए, क्या
I
करने वाले
know.
हैं
I've
आगे
heard
जाके?
so many stories. Oh
Yeah, you
God.
must have. So the 80 to 90% of parents come from low income groups, so they can't spend that money. Then the husband or the in-laws are saying, क्यों जाती है वहाँ पे? To battle that out is also difficult for them. So I think every parent should think about their own mental health. That's the foremost thing. Then only you can work with the child. No?
This was actually my next question, is that, building a stronger ecosystem around the parent itself. So today you're working closely with so many NGOs, you're working with hospitals, with other centers, you are invited for talks, all of this is happening. What do you feel people can do to, work more collaboratively? How can they support each other and, build a better disability ecosystem? What are your thoughts on that, having interacted with so many of them?
Yeah, one is that we can offer services to each other. Like Suppose I identify a child somewhere where there are no services. Maybe he comes to me, so we can share our services with each other. Then another thing is capacity building, like with Umeed, with Sense International India. Perkins India selected us as a model center. So we train, we invite others to come along with us and train, or we go there and train them. Then we have this red flag program, so where we go to mainstream schools
Okay.
and tell them how to identify
Yeah,
teachers,
yeah,
how to
correct.
identify a child.
Yeah.
And not only that, what do you do after that?
After that, what do you do?
Now,
Yeah,
my
correct.
director, who was my guru, he said only identification is not a
नहीं होने
great thing
वाला
you have
कुछ,
done.
yeah.
You have to tell them the next step. So that's
Yes.
how. Then also creating policies, new schemes.
Correct.
If you are aware, I think 7 years ago, our National Trust Act was going to be abolished.
Yes.
So all NGOs came together and said, no, no, it's an important act. We want it. So that's how we can collaborate, come together, tell the government that this is, because they don't know, right? We are experts, they are not experts. So if NGOs can come together and create this understanding, we are also now we are also now creating awareness between other NGOs who are working not with disabilities, working in nutrition, in mental health. So recently we had a NGO meet where we talked about national, what is it, Right to Persons with Disability Act, Right to Education Act, National Trust Act. So then they know how to employ it for inclusion, or they can also guide their parents. So we also want to create awareness among other NGOs who are not into disabilities but come across children with disabilities.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's something. I mean, that is the way to go because we are dealing with so many children. Otherwise, given the number of services, unless you don't share and go about with the collaboration, it's going to be very difficult to actually reach out to every single child and see what they need. Um, one question that I thought I have to ask you is every long journey has its moment of doubts, right? So you must have had that very tough phase where you must have thought, just let me give up and wind up everything. So what helped you stay the course and through that most difficult phase, and who stood by you? What happened? Can you share?
So, Chitra, what was happening, as we started expanding,
Hmm.
so we had to do a lot of roles, right?
Yeah.
So at a point I was feeling tired that I couldn't do it, right? So then I told my trustees that I cannot do it anymore. So then they said, okay, we'll give you a deputy CEO. So we got a deputy CEO or somebody in charge of operations. So what I learned through the process is these people come, they learn, they use it as to put a stamp on their CV and move out. Or they started arm twisting me. If you don't do this, then I will take my decision and leave. So one day I said, enough. I said, I want to close this down. I cannot do it anymore. So I was telling my younger daughter, I was in tears. I said, I've done such good work and so many children are benefiting, and see, now I'm going to close it down. She said, why, Mama? So she said, I will call Didi, she will take it up because she is a management graduate. So my older daughter,
Okay.
okay, she's a management graduate. She was working in advertising. So she told her, I said, why don't you join Mama? And she joined me as my deputy CEO.
Wow.
And Chitra, I can't tell you what a wonderful job she's doing because we depend upon CSRs. Then so she looks into all that. Of course, we have a dedicated team for donor management. If you're aware of CSRs, they need a lot of details.
Yes.
Then the budgeting, the marketing, everything she looks after. And I look into the programs, but she looks
Okay.
into that.
That all this
And
is
now my tension has just dropped.
yeah.
Such a strong person that she is.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I say, this is not okay. Mama, it's not like that. It is like this. When in the office she calls me ma'am. Ma'am, it's not like that. It's like this. So it's a big support. Otherwise, I was really seriously thinking of closing it down because you can't do it with 6 centers and so many programs going on.
Yeah.
And I really thank my daughter. I've never said this to her. She's doing a wonderful job.
Yeah. No, it's so when we even speak, and there have been multiple cases where people say that now I'm going to set up my own business and I'm going to do something, I'm going to do XYZ because of the pure passion of it. When you come to the teacher zone, the education space, as well as special education, to be able to do more than so much that you can, to go beyond, to hire people, to do all of that, it's just so difficult unless you're born with one management leadership gene that you go ahead and
No,
you
even
can do.
if you're
It is
born
so
with that,
difficult for even the IITians, right?
very
It's not
true.
an easy thing
Not
at all
an easy
because
thing.
you are
And
gifted at
yeah,
something.
and you should have like you should have an HR, you should have donor
Yeah.
management, you should have a social media person, and now you have to control all of them is a
Yeah.
difficult
So
part.
hats off to your daughters, both your daughters, the younger one to suggest the older one and the older one to come in.
Yeah.
Thanks to them, you are able to do what you are
Yeah.
doing
Just
today.
while coming, I was just telling her, and you need to buy a laptop. This is, Mama, wait, first you look at the budget. You don't keep spending like that. So, if somebody else would have told me, I used to
Right.
say, what is she trying to say? But the way she tells me, first of all, because she's my daughter,
Right.
and she has seen
She's
this passion in me
yeah,
since she
yeah.
was a child.
Yes.
So, she has just taken that passion now. So,
That's-
I'm really not bothered about, the life of Muskan now. I know it's going to
What
run
are their
well.
names?
The older one is Shambhavi, and the younger
Shambhavi.
one is
Lovely.
Yogini.
Yogini.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Lovely.
yeah.
Thank you, Shambhavi and Yogini, for what you've done for your mom and for all of us. Thanks a ton.
Yeah.
So, what is your long-term vision, Dipti, for
Yeah.
Muskan?
So, many people ask me this question. I do not want to increase the number of centers, but I would like to consolidate and go deeper into each program. Like I said, we have started something for parents.
Yeah.
Parents are partners, right?
Right.
So we are really making a great program for them.
What is the meaning of that?
CAME, I told CAME is counseling,
For a parent,
activities.
all of this that you explained, yeah.
So for parents, then even special education, right? So we are really looking into why does a child not write? So we have experts, we have advisors who come. So we are really going to the depth of each program, and going to deeper into it and consolidate it so that in the next 10-15 years we can just use it instead of just expanding. That's not it, right? Then capacity building, right? I believe when a carpenter comes to our house, he first sharpens the tools for half an hour, and then only he can create something wonderful. So I also believe that the special educators must be trained well. So we are really looking into how to take forth this capacity building. Then another thing is awareness. What I believe is today the child is with me, tomorrow is going to the society, right? There I don't want people to say, hey, bechara, nobody should say that, right? How they can contribute. So we started this awareness program from schools, colleges, corporates. So we have this for school, 3rd, 4th standard children. We go for either Raksha Bandhan or Friendship Day. So our children and their children, they just sit in circles and make those friendship bands. We don't use jargons like blind, deaf, autism, nothing. So they just interact, and then the one teacher is sitting in each group and say, hey, why is he wearing this? They don't know it's called a hearing aid. Oh, why is he touching and feeling? Can't he see? So then that teacher gives them, that okay, he cannot see like you.
This is the purest form of.
Yeah, purest form. And then they exchange, what have they made together. And then we tell the teacher that please take them to your class and ask them what did they feel. And the teacher insists that, see, they are just children like you, right? They also have the same potential like you have, right? They have certain limitations which we should, she doesn't say should accept it because too young. But so wonderfully they do it. So it somewhere remains in the back of their mind that, oh, there was a special child and he could do it, I can also do it. Or that empathy will come instead of sympathy.
Yeah.
Then 8th, 9th standard, we have these simulation glasses. We are aware that in low vision or those who are legally blind, only 10% are totally blind, 20% are totally blind, 80 can see. You say, what do you mean by see? So we make them wear these simulation glasses. Then there is a counter on braille. So it's written there. So Chitra wants to write her name in braille. So we have a braille lens there. So somebody assists you to write there. There's a sign language counter. So somebody says, if you go to college, you say, I want to learn how to say you look beautiful. Somebody says, I want to tell my girlfriend that you cook great food. So then we teach them that. So it's just sensitizing them.
Extremely very engaging. Yeah.
Then I have often seen this. There are people who are blind. They start at the signal and say, please help me cross. But people are so scared because they don't know the skills to help the person. So they don't, not because they are not empathetic or something. So we teach these skills also. Suppose you go to the bank, Chitra, and there's a blind person said, is there a chair around? I want to sit. What do people do to take them? They prop them down. That's not the way to do it. There's a technique to make it. So we teach these simple things in the sensitization program. So it depends upon what level we are at. If it is a corporate, then we talk a little more about the laws related and schemes related to disability. But in school, 8th, 9th, they understand. So once they're exposed at that age, I feel they will learn more. Uh, if they come across a person, they will respect that person for what he is. So that's how we want to create awareness now.
So schools engage with you, they reach out to you, and
We reach out to them.
you reach out to them.
We
Okay.
reach out
So
to them.
any of the schools who, we can max make a reach out to everybody who's listening to this podcast, that if you wish to get this done for your children the way Dr. Dipti explained, definitely you can reach out to her and see, huge change. You're really helping in the entire personality of that child who will very soon become an adult. So that was really nice listening to.
And
what
they
you're
enjoy
doing.
it.
I'm
Later
sure
on, later on they write to us. It was
Ah.
such a wonderful thing. They introduce us to other schools.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, MDVI is it going to change in the next 10 years? Is something happening further?
See, national and international bodies are working on it, but we are still at a very nascent stage. We are not understanding what is MDVI, and like I said, we just feel that it's the impact of one disability on the other, right? Like children with autism and children with visual impairment have these self-stimulated behaviors. So many of them attributed to autism. It may not be because of autism. It may be because of visual impairment also.
This also needs to be checked and ruled out if
Checked and
necessary,
ruled
or
out. Yeah.
worked upon.
Yeah. And there are very few professionals who really understand MDVI. No? So if we can do something about training people in MDVI, then it will change.
And MDVI is a proper curriculum-based program. It comes as part of what? I mean,
No,
if
there is
someone
no- there is
reaches out to you
no,
and
no,
says,
there is no
"Ma'am, I
curriculum.
also want to become a vision therapist," how do they go about it?
There are a lot. I've done a lot of courses from Perkins or from American Foundation, right? But they are very expensive.
So we don't have anything in India yet. So that's something that.
Yeah. And it's not only by training, no, you should have an experience along with that. So today when I see a child, I can understand that, these things are because of autism, this is because of visual impairment, right? It comes with experience.
Correct.
A lot of occupational therapists and all said, we want to work with you because then they can just copy the program. But that doesn't help because every child is different. Also, if you overstimulate the child, most of them have convulsions. So if you overdo it, they can get
It can
convulsion
land
and the
up,
brain can be damaged further. So you have to be very, very careful.
True.
So we don't allow anybody to watch our program, not because we want to keep it secret, because we have observed that people just copy it as it is.
And they wouldn't know the repercussions of doing all the wrong things.
Rightly said, yeah, they don't know how to do it.
Okay, I'm just coming to the end of this where, is there an ask from you for what can be done at a policy level, or, even at the community level, although you have briefly mentioned a couple of things. And what would you tell a parent who is listening? How should they also figure out that, they need to check this also out for their child? What would you tell parents?
The
In terms
MDVI
of
part of
MDVI,
it, that's right, yeah. See, I think every parent has an inkling that there is something wrong,
amiss,
and they don't want to face it, right? If they can overcome that and tell the neurologist or the development pediatrician that I think there is something related to vision. Once there was a child who was just 8 months old, and he had autism with visual impairment. The grandmother told the mother that there is something different. See, she was not that educated. So that is how then one pediatrician knew me. So he referred the child to me, and then we found out. So even if you feel, or maybe it's an occupational therapist, a physiotherapist, a parent, if you feel, you can go to your developmental pediatrician, neurologist, ask, and then go for an assessment, right? And then start the intervention. Don't wait. People wait. नहीं बच्चे को 3 साल का होने दो. अरे those first 2 years of, I told you this case of Leber's congenital amaurosis, had we not started at 8 months, it wouldn't have created magic that was created now, right? That girl is doing so wonderfully today. Like, we cannot imagine that she's a child with LCA. So don't delay. If you feel there is something, go to an expert, consult them. And nowadays, most of the development pediatricians also know about it, because I make it a point to go to people and speak to it, speak about that. So please don't wait.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for doing this for us. And it was wonderful listening to your whole journey, understanding what are all the various aspects. And I hope everyone who's listening in, truly reaches out to you if they have such needs. And also the whole concept of, understanding why you should look at this over and above the primary disability is also very crucial. So, wishing all the best to you for Muskan, to your dear girls, and to your entire team. Thank you so much, Dr. Dipti. Thanks a ton for
Thank you,
coming
Chitra.
over.
I must thank you for calling me here,
Yeah,
because this is one more platform to create awareness about
yeah,
MDVI
absolutely.
and to talk to the parents,
Yes.
So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.